Bigfoot fame. If you look on the internet.
Very nice to meet you, Jim. Appreciate you talking with us.
It's my joy and my pleasure. And I hope someday I get to do this for National Geographic.
Me too.
Yeah, I hope someday they'll say, well, we're going to have to, we'll hook him up to a polygraph and we'll see if he's telling the truth or if he's lying. But I'll tell you, here's what the whole thing comes down to. So much of the world, and especially scientists, think that there has to be evolution going on. And I will just tell you, there's not the remotest possible chance for evolution to ever taken place. There's not the slightest evidence in the world that evolution could happen. There's no evolutionist. There's no one to make evolution work. There's one person could make it work, and that's God. He doesn't. He doesn't need to.
Right.
So here's my story. This is Jim Henry's story. That's just editorializing there, but
Thank you.
I was on my property. It was flooding. I had bought 5 acres from a dear lady, and the lower part was flooding. I'm from Grays Harbor, over there in the heart of the Bigfoot country, and I fell on this Bigfoot's lap, and I'll tell you, he is still there. And if you said, well, take me around now, well, I can't guarantee you that he will come out because he likes to come out at night. I bought 5 acres, and the lady that sold me, Babe Calhoun, he lived on her part, but it was just like 50 feet from mine where she, anyway.
Did you say you fell in his lap?
I fell on him, hard.
On him.
I fell exactly, so let me tell it. It doesn't take long. This property had flooded, and this was about, I had just graduated from emergency medical technician school.
Oh yeah, that's what I did for a living too.
Yes. And so I had just got my jacket with the bright stripes, had some of my gear in it, and I had just bought this 5 acres. And it had flooded, and it was on, I used to be an engineer. It was on a 1,000-year floodplain, it's called. It flooded 4 times that year.
Oh, jeez.
And it is rainy country, you just can't imagine. So here, it was after 11 o'clock at night, and it was a totally, I'm telling you, no light. It was a zero light. And maybe you've never even seen that in your life, never been out where you can't take a step because you don't know where your foot's going to go. So I had my, what do you have for diabetics? The glucose. I had glucose in here, and I had a mini mag light.
No, I'm going to go.
Mr. Elder, my gift over here.
Like it?
Oh man, I like that. Anyway, so I had this mini mag light that's about this long with 2 little A cells, and so I turned it on and had it in my teeth, and was down cutting alder sticks and marking where the flood water went, because my property came and kind of went down about 20 feet, and it was lapping all around there. So I was down cutting these alder branches and pushing them in, and I would strip a little bark off up at the top so I could see where so I was moving along, and something, and this was about 82 or so, about 1982. something was walking along with me. And I don't know what. And you think, well, was I brave? No, I'm not the bravest guy. Not the bravest guy, but I didn't mind that so much. I didn't mind it much.
Really? Even though you didn't know what it was?
I didn't know what it was.
I would have scared me.
And I thought it was possibly the guy was a real recluse that had the property on the other side of where Babe's house was. So anyway, I would walk along and with this in my teeth, you know, I could see a step here and push there, and he was gently walking along with me, and we bumped each other all the time, but never to hurt, you know. I wouldn't hurt anybody or any creature. I just never would do it. But we kept going around, and he was only thing he was nervous every time I take my pocket knife out of my. Every time I take my pocket knife out, he would go. And I'd do the same thing, open it up and cut a alder branch, whittle it, and fold it up, put it back. He was watching, he's good with this, good with that, until I'd move along and he was watching curious. So pretty soon this bank came up and he couldn't go any further. And I didn't know who it was or what it was, but here's what he did. He sank down. There's a little ledge there, and if you ever come to me to Grace Harbor, I'll show you that ledge. He sank down on it like this, and there's heavy brush and grass and everything. And I was standing right here, and I was intending to go right there, and I suddenly found those long legs of his I couldn't get over. And so I was like this. Nothing I could do, but I just fell right on top of it. If you were him, I fell
Right over his lap.
right on top, not across the lap, but face to face with him.
Wow.
I fell on him.
Oh, wow.
And here's what I want you to photograph. Here's
Okay.
what, as I went by him, I could see him smile like this.
He thought it was funny, huh?
He didn't, break into a giant big smile, but he smiled like this. And as I went by, boom, and I'm about that far from his smile, and that's really all I could see of his face. Everyone says, well, what's it? No, that's about all in that blur I could see was that he was smiling about it, and he lifted me up so gently, like I've had so many babies crawl on me, and I gently lift them up. There's no more effort to him than that, and with that peculiar look on his face. But in that second or two, I was on his, absolutely on top of him.
Wow.
That
That's
I
amazing.
felt this fur was as softer than anything except kittens. Or
Really, it was soft.
it was so soft. He was fur covered, and he had fur here too, but it was much closer. But here's what I have to tell you before I tell you what actually happened next, is that I felt that stomach, and it was that wide, and it had muscles down both sides that do not exist on people. There was a ridge of muscles that wide, that high down each side, and it was like this, what you call six-pack or whatever. And they were I could feel them, and they were
There's an old woman I know.
muscles. They were not. There's no fat in there,
Yeah.
and the
It was up on a ridge.
soft fur
Spooked her horse.
and no smell whatsoever. He did not
I
stink.
was going to ask you about that.
He was not the faintest. I mean, if I would not want to live my life and say I told a lie about something. No, I don't. I just don't want to. So, here's the worst thing. I hate for you to record this, but I'm going to tell you the truth. After I fell and he picked me up, I yelled louder than I have ever yelled in my life. And I know I hit high C. I can just tell you, I know, even though I can't sing.
Screamed like a girl.
Like a girl. And I screamed. Oh, he was so mad and stumped. I can't say he was not 8. He was maybe 7, but he stomped. And the ground was so wet around there that it went like this. And he was still so mad at me. And so consequently, the next day I went down and all my sticks were gone. I can tell you that.
Oh, we took them all
I
out.
think that's the last time I saw him. And he's still there. He's still there. And they just saw him
Where is it downstairs?
at Grace Harbor. And they just saw him. And of course, he's gotten older too and no dental care. I get regular dental care. But one of his front teeth is knocked out.
Oh.
And one beside it is broken off about halfway.
Wow.
So my dentist
Poor
says,
guy.
yeah, it possibly could hurt, but my dentist says, well, if you bring him in and you're hand in hand, I'll fix his teeth.
Met a man, his name was Jim, who had a story no one would believe in. While camping out, his wife and he saw a herd of elk swimming in a lake among a dark-covered vein. It pushed them along, it had arms like an oar, walked around on his tiptoes, looked like a hair-covered man on the shore. Didn't know what it was till many years gone by, but now he knows it's a creature they say started back when the world was right. Oh, Jim Henry's got a new friend. Walking with Jim Henry, there he goes again, with his hair-covered friend. Well, it started to rain, and then a flood began on the back of Jim's place where the water really started coming in. There was a lair where the creature stayed, but even he had to get himself back and up and out of the way. Jim felt his presence right by his side, but it was so pitch black and dark and cold and wet outside. He gave a shout, more for Jim than he, to try and scare his fright and all his misery. Oh, Jim Henry's got a new friend. Walking with to the edge of town. Something caught his attention in the ditch that made him really frown. This thing was crouched, then bounded out, and shot like an arrow so fast across the street before he could shout. Oh my, what's that? Looks like a hair-covered man, running faster than a deer, being chased by a bear through the bottomland. One thing's for sure, old Jim knows they're real, and he hopes someday we can all get together and make a deal, just to live together forevermore, 'cause he knows this world's big enough for both from shore to shore. Oh, Jim Henry's got a new friend. Walking with Jim Henry, there he goes again, with his hair-covered friend. Oh, Jim Henry's got a new friend. Walking